I want you to picture this. Just imagine a throne, but it's not made of gold. It's made of pure, crystallized light, and it's floating high above the entire kingdom of Egypt. And sitting there is Joseph. He's not the boy in the pit anymore, not by a long shot. He's a viceroy, robed in power, with this radiant crown just shimmering above his head. And bowing down before him, their faces literally in the dust, are his brothers, the very guys who put him through all that despair. But you gotta look closer, because this isn't just about a family drama finally playing out. As Joseph rises, something else, something much bigger, is shifting in a higher reality. A spiritual crown, the Shekhinah, the divine presence itself, is being lifted out of a long, painful exile. And above that, the throne of David finds its true foundation. And above that, the whole structure of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it all just snaps into perfect, unified alignment. This, my friends, is the great reversal. It's a cosmic reboot, and we are about to decode it together. So let's dive into what that really means. The Torah tells us, and Joseph was the ruler over all the land. Now, on the surface, okay, that's a straightforward political fact. Simple enough. But in the mystical tradition, especially in the Zohar, this verse it's so much more than just history. It's the final line of a cosmic code. It's the resolution to a bug, a glitch that was written into the very source code of reality at the dawn of time. Joseph's rise to power isn't just about one man's incredible story. It's about the repair of the entire universe.
And this brings us to the central mystery, doesn't it? I mean, we're looking at a story about sibling rivalry, famine, politics, all very human stuff. But the ancient mystics are telling us, no, no, no. Look deeper. Look much, much deeper. They see a universal process of rectification, what they call tikkun. So you have to ask the big questions. What was so fundamentally broken in the cosmos to begin with? And how on earth could the personal journey of one guy, from a pit to a palace, be the master key that fixes, well, everything?
To get the repair, you gotta understand the damage. So, before creation as we know it, the Kabbalists, especially the great Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Ari, they described this primordial state of being that was, let's just say, unstable. It was a universe of immense, raw, untamed power, but it had this hidden, fatal flaw. This was the primordial glitch in the source code of reality itself.
This event is known as Shivirat Hekalim, the shattering of the vessels. You might also hear it called the death of the primordial kings. I mean, just imagine trying to pour the light of 1,000 suns into a bunch of tiny clay pots. It's just not going to work, right? The vessels simply could not handle the sheer intensity of the divine light flowing into them, so they shattered, they broke. And the shards, mixed with these holy sparks of that original light, they just cascaded down, forming the fragmented, chaotic reality that you and I experience every day. This created a universe founded on a fundamental flaw: disunity.
Okay, so this breaks it down perfectly. On the left, you've got the world of tohu, or chaos. Everything is isolated, every king, every force just wants to rule on its own. It's all about me, me, me. And that leads to this overwhelming, unstructured light that just causes fragmentation. But on the right, that's the goal, the world of tikkun, or rectification. Here, everything is interconnected. The light is channeled into a structured, sustainable flow. Fragmentation gets replaced by wholeness, and all those independent kings are reorganized into a single, unified structure, what the mystics call a partsuf, a cosmic persona. Joseph's story? It's the story of moving the entire universe from that left column over to the right.
And the consequences of this shattering? They were catastrophic. The main result is called the demutation of the moon. Now that's mystical code for the exile of the Shekhinah, the divine feminine presence, which is connected to the idea of kingship or malkut. She gets cut off from her source. And when that happens, the flow of divine sustenance, the shefa, it gets blocked, the pipeline is broken. So the force of harsh judgment, din, starts to dominate over mercy, rachamim. And the result of all that? The world experiences a profound spiritual famine, a cosmic drought. And here's where it gets so brilliant. Joseph's personal journey down into the pit is a perfect mirror of this cosmic exile. The literal famine in Egypt is just the physical symptom of this much deeper spiritual problem.
Okay, so we've seen the glitch, we've seen the cosmic chaos, but you have to know, for every problem in this divine system, there is a built-in solution, a code for rectification. So let's see how this whole thing gets repaired. Because in this cosmic drama, the solution isn't a set of instructions, it's not a what. The solution is a who, or, more accurately, it's the cosmic principle that this person embodies. Let's talk about Joseph.
So in the Kabbalistic map of reality, the tree of life, you've got these 10 divine attributes, or Sephirah. The ninth one is called Yesod, which literally means foundation. Think of it as the main conduit, the grand channel, the main pipeline. It takes all the energy, all the light, all the sustenance from the higher Sephirah and funnels it down into Malchut, which is the final Sephirah that represents our physical world and the divine presence within it. Yesod is the principle of connection itself, of covenant, and it's personified by the archetype of the tzaddik, the righteous one, who lives a life of perfect integrity.
And here it is. This is the absolute core of the secret. The Zohar and other mystical texts, they are crystal clear on this. Yosef is the embodiment of the Sephirah of Yesod. He is Yosef the tzaddik. He is the foundation. He's the channel through which all blessing is supposed to flow into our world. So you see, when his brothers threw him in the pit, they weren't just betraying their little brother. On a cosmic level, they were severing the main channel. They were breaking the very foundation of the entire system.
All right, for all you tech people out there, this is going to make so much sense. This whole process is basically a system reboot. Imagine the universe has an operating system. Yesod, Joseph, is a core process, like the kernel itself. It's responsible for resource allocation, in this case, divine energy. So, step 1. This core process gets demoted. It's thrown into the pit, treated like a background task. Step 2. All these conflicting, divisive processes, the brothers, they start running wild, causing system-wide errors and chaos. Which leads to step 3. Total system instability, which shows up as a spiritual and then a physical famine. So what's the fix? Step 4. The system itself, through Pharaoh's dream, recognizes the critical error and restores root-level priority. Joseph gets elevated, given full administrative access to the whole system. And the result? Step 5. The system stabilizes, the flow of sustenance is back online, and all those conflicting processes, the brothers, are now subordinated. They have to come to him just to survive.
So with that framework locked in, we can now walk through Joseph's life story, but not as a biography. We're going to see it as a step-by-step sequence of cosmic repair. Every single stage of his journey corresponds to a specific level up in the cosmic architecture, fixing a specific part of that primordial shattering.
And we can look at this in two ways at the same time. For the kids, or the kids at heart, just think of it like a video game. Joseph is the rejected character who has to grind through a series of dungeons, the pit, the prison, to level up. He has to defeat bosses like the wife of Potiphar and ultimately become the final ruler of the game, unlocking all the system's hidden abilities. Now for the adults, we can see this as a classic case of priority inversion in a complex system. A low-priority task is holding a lock that a high-priority task needs. The whole system freezes until that low-priority process, Joseph, is elevated to its rightful central place.
Okay, let's really break this down, because this chart, this is the engine room of the whole process. So first stage, the pit and the prison. This represents Malchut, or kingship, in exile. The color code for this, the mystics say, is black. It's sorrow, darkness, the total absence of light. And the system outcome is fragmentation. But from that lowest point, he starts to climb. Next stage, overcoming temptation with Potiphar's wife. This is a huge deal. This is Joseph subordinating his Yetzer Hara, his own internal negative impulse. This corresponds to the color red, the color of Gevurah, or judgment. By mastering that inner fire, he doesn't destroy it, he transforms the enemy force into a source of power. Then a massive shift, interpreting dreams. This is where he taps into a higher level of consciousness called dot, or knowledge. And the color shifts to white, the color of chesed, or mercy. He sees the hidden order inside the chaos of the dreams and brings a plan of mercy to the world. And finally, the ultimate stage, ruling Egypt. This is it. This is the grand unification. Yesod Joseph rises and unites with Malchut, kingship, the land of Egypt. The color code here is sapphire, for the foundation stone. And the system outcome? A unified, stable kingship. The flow is restored.
And the number 7 is absolutely key here. The 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine, that's not just some random number. In the structure of the Sephirah, you have 7 lower emotional attributes, from Chesed, which is kindness, all the way down to Malchut, kingship. And Joseph, as Yesod, is the 7th of these when you count down from Chesed. So his whole job is to be the balancer, the distributor, the one who can manage the extremes of plenty and famine to create stability across all 7 attributes. He is the master of the number 7.
So now, let's circle all the way back to that opening image we started with, Joseph on the throne.
We've journeyed through the cosmic glitch, we've gone through all the stages of repair, and we are finally ready to understand the full mystical significance of his triumph and what it really means to be the head of creation.
The Zohar takes this verse from the Psalms, and now my head is lifted up above my enemies who surround me, and applies it directly to Joseph. The Zohar says that when Joseph was finally revealed as the ruler of Egypt, this is the verse that was fulfilled. But then it immediately asks this incredible question. What does it mean, my head is lifted? Come on, this isn't just about Joseph's personal ego boost, it's pointing to something way, way bigger.
So here's the absolute mind-blower. The Hebrew phrase, Yaram Roshi, my head is lifted, is a code. The head is not Joseph's physical head. It is the Rosh, the head of the entire cosmic structure, that divine persona that governs our reality. The mystics explained that the whole system was upside down. Kingship, the Shekhinah, had fallen to the lowest possible level. But by elevating Joseph, the Sephirah of Yesod, the foundation, the system literally performs a physical lift. It raises Malkut from her state of exile and brings her back into perfect union with the worlds above. Joseph's personal elevation is the mechanism for a universal divine elevation. The throne he's sitting on isn't just Egyptian, it's the restored throne of all creation.
And this just beautifully lays out the final, fully restored state of the system. First, Yesod, the foundation, is now where it's supposed to be, supporting Malchut, kingship. They are finally unified. Above them, Tiferet, the attribute of harmony which is represented by their father Jacob, is now centered and balanced. And that in turn unifies the entire patriarchal throne, the whole upper structure of the Sephirah. The enemy, all those conflicting forces represented by the brothers and the famine, they are now subordinated and transformed into productive parts of the system. And most importantly, the Shepha, that divine flow of life and sustenance, is fully restored to all worlds. The reboot is complete.
So we're left with this powerful final thought. This ancient code, hidden deep inside the story of Joseph, reveals a principle that's just as true today as it was thousands of years ago. Personal rectification creates cosmic rectification. Our inner world and the outer world, they're not separate, they're one interconnected system. Which really leaves us with the big question. How does elevating the Joseph within each of us, that core foundation of integrity, of connection, that righteousness the mystics call Yesod, how does that one act reorder our own lives, our families, our communities, and our world? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.